Welcome back to the third part of this tutorial series where I show you how to make a multiplayer game. So, first of all, in the last two parts, we got the UI set up and also some of the basic foundations for the data and for the game. And so now, this time, we're going to be setting up the multiplayer functionality and hopefully finishing off the game. Alright, well, let's jump straight into it. I'm going to start off by going into the actual app itself. So it's a blue icon. Click on that, select the target, and under sign-in capabilities, just make sure that you have a team that's registered. In this case, I do, and also a bundle identifier. So this is just good because you need all of this to be able to use GameKit or Game Center and their multiplayer features. Let's head back and let's go to Safari where we can log into our developer website and also App Store Connect. In this case, we need to register an app ID to actually create an app. So let's do Guess the Doodle as our description, and also for our bundle ID, com.madebyuma. All right, cool. And then if I scroll down, we need to enable some capabilities. In this case, we just need to scroll down Game Center. All right, let's continue. Register. Back to App Store Connect. Let me just refresh the page. And so you sign into App Store Connect, and you need to create a new app with the plus icon. Create a new app. And for the name, Guess the Doodle. This is on iOS. For the SKU, just do Guess the Doodle. It's basically just some unique identifier for you. And we can choose our bundle ID. The primary language is, I'm going to do English Australia. Actually, English US, why not? And then user access, I'll just do full access for now. All right, create, all good. And, oh, it's already being used. Guess a Doodle. So it has to be unique, the name. Let's see if Guess a Doodle works. All right, I guess that works. It's a slightly different name, but oh well, it's all good. For Guess a Doodle, let's go to Services, and we're gonna go to Game Center. Oh, that's already created. And we actually need to, for multiplayer, create a quick, just a simple leaderboard. I don't exactly know why we need to. It's just that it doesn't work if we have no leaderboard. I believe it's just that it doesn't register this app as a valid Game Center app. So a leaderboard is sort of like a sign that it's actually a valid Game Center app and that it can use all the Game Center features. Let's just do a classic leaderboard. It doesn't really matter what all this is, just random stuff. Leaderboard ID, random. Okay, integer. We don't need score range. Add language. We'll just do language, English, name, something. It doesn't really matter in this case. Score, yeah, this is all optional. All right, save. Cool, we have a, we need a sort order. Yes, let's just do high to low. I don't know. Doesn't matter, like I said, anything goes. All right, Game Center, we should have one leaderboard. Let's see if it loads. All right, cool. We have the random stuff. Let's close Safari. Let's create a capability for Game Center. Okay, cool. We have that open. We have everything good to go. Now, in Match Manager, let's see what we need. We need GameKit, that's for one. We also need PencilKit. This is so we can transfer the pencil data, drawing data. So, okay. We want to create a few more variables for now. We need a match, so GK match. We also need to store the other player, so that would be a GK player, but also optional, so maybe nothing because we may not have a match or may not have another player. We also need a var local player, and that'll be the GK local player. Oops, GK local player dot local, and that's the local or current player. We also want a player UUID key, and that's going to be a UUID dot UUID string. The reason why I need this is so I can determine who goes first and who starts drawing first. And the player UUID key, or using a UUID, is just the easiest way for me to make a unique ID, so I can determine who goes first. We also need a root view controller, or need access to a root view controller. And this is how we can bring up the matchmaking views and the authentication views and all of that. And so that's a UI view controller. Inside brackets, we also need to grab the Windows scene and return it. So whenever you're fetching it, it will run this code and grab it and return this value. So UI application dot shared dot connected scenes dot first and trying to parse it as a UI window scene. And then you return Windows scene dot windows dot first dot root view controller. And that will give us our root view controller where we can bring up all the different views that we have. Now let's create some code to authenticate the user. Authenticate user, GK local player dot local dot authenticate handler equals, and we're going to create a closure here. I'm going to put in brackets self in square brackets just so I don't have to do self dot every single time in this case. So VC and then E is just some random E means error. So if we have a view controller, so if let view controller equals VC, so this authenticate handler will give us either a view controller or an error. So if there's a view controller, that means you have to present it and we can just return out of it because there's nothing else that we need to do. So root view controller dot present, oh, not presentation, present, I can't type. View controller, so that's the thing that we're going to bring up. We'll make it animated, nice little animations. All good, all good. So if the error, we can set the error to E, then the authentication state, equals to dot error. So if we can find an error, then there will be an error, and we can set authentication state to error. So this is past the view controller, so if there's no view controller to display, then we have that. Also, for debugging purposes, also always good to print out the error .localized description, just because it's easy for us to actually be able to read if there is anything that goes wrong. Just a general programming practice in this case. And then once all that's passed, if there's no view control to present, if there's no error, then we can check if the local player is authenticated. Otherwise, if they aren't, authentication state will be set to unauthenticated. Now, if the local player has multiplayer gaming restricted by parental controls or whatever restricts it, then our authentication state will be .restricted. Otherwise, once you've passed all those checks, we will finally be authenticated. Cool. Now let's bring this back into the content view and just pass it over. So now for our content view, we need to actually set up everything so we can actually see what we need to see. That being the venue view, the menu view, the game view, or the game overview. So any of the views that we have. Now that's a lot of views in one sentence. So let's create a state object instead of observed object. So this will be a var match manager, and we'll be creating a new match manager. Now let's, instead of creating this hello world stuff, let's replace it with a Z stack so we can put in some of our views. So if our match manager is game overed, then we can show the game over view. We can pass in the match manager. Else, if we are in a game, then we just show the game view and pass in the match manager once again. For the otherwise, if there's nothing else, we'll show the menu view. Menu view, match manager, and I'll be again passing in the match manager once again. Now, if on appear, we will perform, we'll get the match manager to authenticate the user. And that's it. Voila. And there you go. The Game Center authentication menu gets brought up. Now, I'm not going to sign in on this preview here, so I'm just going to close it off. I think that's all we really need to worry about in terms of the view. Yeah, so I think just so we can see that it works, I'm going to run it on both my iPhone and also the simulator. So I'll be back once everything's run and everything's set up. Alright, so the simulator, as you can see, just got signed in. My iPhone, well, maybe it's an internet thing because it is taking a while. But, well, at least we can see that there was something working, so there's some life in it. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because let's just keep moving along. I'm just going to quit and yes. Alright, let's head back to the match manager. Okay, so we've got the authentication down pat. Let's start doing the matchmaking. Start matchmaking. We'll just go straight into this. We'll create a request, and this will be a GK match request. So this is just setting up our match request for what we want to do. In here we can set things like the minimum amount of players, so 2. You can also set the maximum amount of players, also 2, since it's a 2-player game. And we'll set the matchmaking VC to a GK matchmaker view controller where we can set the request. Cool. And then matchmaking VC, we'll set the delegate matchmaker delegate to itself, and we can set the delegate in some other file through the use of an extension. So a root view controller will present this standard matchmaking VC animated. We'll make this animated. Okay, now let's create a new file, and this will be your regular old file, Swift file, and let's call this matchmaking. Match manager plus GK match manager matchmaker view controller delegate. This is just sort of like a standard naming convention for extensions, and I've seen Apple use them in their sort of like examples. So I thought I may as well, use the same thing. Now let's take a look. We have to make an extension because it's an already existing class, match manager. So we have to extend the match manager. Then we can use this GK match manager view controller, GK match manager view controller delegate. Now, I could actually use this delegate in the same file as a match manager in the same class, but for extensions, I've eventually found out that extensions, it's much cleaner to put them in a separate file. So I shall do the same thing, and you can compliment me on my improvements. Anyways, yeah. So we also need to import the GameKit and put in the match manager view controller. Did find a match. We also need to check if we failed with an error or if the controller was cancelled. In other words, we just press the X button to cancel the matchmaker view controller. In the last two instances, we just do view controller dot dismiss, make it nice and animated. Paste that in. For this last one, we need to do a view controller dot dismiss animated true, and we also need to start a game with our match, which we found. This function does not exist, so let's go back to Match Manager and create the match. Or create the function. Func start match. Need some brackets and a parameter for our GK match that we're gonna add. Cool. Let's see what's going on. Okay. So it says that it's an optional, so it's like, we can't do much about it. Let's just do an exclamation mark to say, hey, this does or should exist. We're gonna just assume it exists, exclamation mark, to force unwrap. So let's start a new game. We'll need to set our match to the match that we have. We'll call this new match just to prevent any confusion. We'll also set this new match. Something's going on. Oh, okay. I need to actually add NS object to this. So it's a type of NS object and conforms to GK Match Manager View Controller Delegate. Long name. Okay. Now let's see what's going on. We are extending Match Manager, but there are some issues. Oh wait, no, this shouldn't be. We'll just put the NS object in Match Manager. I think that's much cleaner that way. And also, I think the extension doesn't like it that way. Okay, cool. Now, to start game doesn't exist, which it should be start match. Should be start game. Okay, there you go. Renaming. Error should proof out of existence. Let's watch it proof. Okay, it's gone. Cool. Let's head back to the match manager. I need to open it up. Okay, so let's set the matches delegate to itself. And you may have guessed it, we need a new file for a new extension. So match manager plus GK match delegate. And then we'll do an extension of match manager, and then we'll add in GK match delegate. Let's also import GameKit so we get access to all the GameKit stuff that we need. Cool. I'll just add some match did receive data. Let's see if we can find did receive data. There you go. And then we also need one to send a string with a message. So these are just me. This is just me setting up all the stuff to send all the data, all the relevant data. So we also want to send data. In this case, we want data to be data, and also the mode to be the GK match send data mode. So we can set it to be reliable or unreliable. So unreliable means that if it just fails once, drop it, doesn't matter. But if it's reliable, then it will just keep sending it until it's there. So yeah, so send data, quite important. And send string is also to send some string, which will then reference send data. This receive data from a remote player if we receive the data from the other player. And then we also want did change state. This is just so we can check if a person disconnected. Cool, we have all these different stubs, and we can head back into our match manager to continue on with our start game stuff. We can assign the other player to the match.players.first. So the players here is just an array of other players, and that doesn't include the local player, so it makes it quite convenient for us. And then draw prompt. Let's start off by making our own draw prompt. Now we need some everyday objects, and we need to select a random element from it. And they'll give us a random draw prompt. Now, you may be asking, what happens to the guesser who doesn't have a draw, who already has a draw prompt? Well, it's just there to set it so that when it's their turn, they already have something in that's ready, and once it's guessed, they can just reshuffle it. It's just how I structured it. Now, we also need to send a string and saying began player UID key. And now this is how we determine how we can actually figure out who goes first, who draws first. So we actually send both players send each other the local string or the player ID, UUID I mean, and it'll compare it. And since these UUIDs have like a 1 in 17 billion chance of being the same, so in basically effectively all cases they'll be different, you can just compare which one goes first, and you can just compare them like, you know, in alphabetical order, and then the one that's earlier or later, doesn't matter, will just end up going first in drawing. And that's how I do it, and it helps. So we'll start a game, and that's basically everything we need. Now let's actually head back to this match manager with match delegate, and we'll actually start off by doing all these different sending data things. So what happens if we send a string? Or let's start with sending the data, because that's sort of like the main thing. We want to do a do catch statement because sending it might fail and we need to catch any errors. So we need to try doing the match.send data. So we're sending send data to all the players with the data, and because it's only one level player, send to all players is just send to one player with the mode that's selected, and catch will just print an error. Okay, all good, simple. And you will see that in basically every case we'll just do a reliable data mode. So we won't be using the unreliable data. So in a platformer game, for instance, you probably want unreliable if you want to send like position data, which really only matters in that exact instance since the person will just keep moving. So otherwise, yeah, we'll just in this case we're just sending drawing data and also some special messages which do need to be reliable. Otherwise the game will just fall apart. Anyways, we want to basically create an encoded string. So we want to guard let encoded because encoding might fail. So we'll do string data. This is string data colon is just how we say, hey, this is a string. So when we actually check the string or the data, we can actually check if it's a string or not by doing it that way. Because any data can actually be converted into a string because, well, technically anything can be a string. It's just random data stuff. So we'll encapsulate the message in that. So the string data prefix will let us identify that it's a string. And we'll convert it to data doing .data using .utf8. That's our encoding option. Now, if that doesn't work, we'll just return. I mean, it's more than likely going to work, so we don't need to really worry about it not working. So we'll just send the data in a reliable state. And there you go. That's sending the data. Now, what happens if we receive the data? So we will do content string. And so in this match received data, we're trying to parse this into a string again. So let's decode this data as a utf8.self. That way we can do a utf8 decode. Now, if the content starts with string data, which we have here, then we know it's a string. Otherwise, it's not a string, and then our last received, actually, have we created this? Last received. Oh, we need to create another one, another variable called last published var last received drawing data, and by default we'll just do pk drawing an empty drawing object dot data representation. So that's just the data of the drawing that we have. So else, actually no, we'll just make it a pk drawing. Let's just do that. So if it's not a string, we'll assume it's a drawing. So we'll do another do catch to try and turn this into a drawing. So last received drawing. Well, let's rename this as last received drawing, and that'll become a pk drawing with the data. Pk drawing data. That'll be the data that we have, and we'll just try. Okay, there we go. And once that's changed, then we also need to add PencilKit. And there you go. So if it can find a drawing out of it, then it will. Otherwise, it'll just ignore it, and we won't just change the drawing. But if it does, then we can update the drawing in the game view. So we're gonna if there's a string, we're gonna convert the message and replace the string data prefix with just nothing. There you go. And then we'll have a receive string function with our message. Cool. Now back to our match manager. Let's create that. So received string message string. Now this is where we can check what the message contains by checking the prefix, like this began prefix here. So we actually have two prefixes. We have the string data prefix and we also have the began prefix. So to be able to check it, let's split the message by the colon separator. And then we can check if there's a message prefix. And message split dot first. Otherwise, if there isn't, then we'll just return, which means that the data just wasn't valid. Now we'll check the parameter, which is the string of the message split dot last. If there isn't anything, which is why we have the double question mark. So if it's empty, we just do an empty string. Now, something is happening. Oh, right, separator. We need a separator parameter. Just need to wrap that out. Cool. So we can switch the message prefix. And first of all, we need a default statement in case there's the prefix is just unrecognizable. In this case, we'll just break. So what happens if you have a began prefix? If this is the case, we'll check if the player UUID key is equal to the parameter. And now this is for the 1 in 17 billion chance that they're the same, the UUID and the parameter. Since we're sending the key, we just check it, see if it's the same. If it is, we'll just do player UUID key equals UUID dot UUID string. We can also send the other string, so send string, and then we'll just do the same good old thing, player UUID key, and we'll repeat. Just saw my iPhone flash, that's a weird thing. Yeah, okay, still recording my face, that's good. Otherwise, you'll just see a camera-less rest of the video. Okay, so if that's the case, we just break and, ignore. You can do something special if you want, if there's like a UUID clash, report it to the FBI or something if you really want to, which you shouldn't, but, just something funny if you want to have happen. Okay, currently drawing. So now we can check if we're currently drawing. So we just compare it if it's less than parameter. It's just checking by alphabetical order. Doesn't matter if it's less than or greater than, so it doesn't really matter. Now, if we can set in-game to true, so we can start the game. We also want to have the timer right, so we need to actually check if we're the timekeeper. So, we'll have another one, published var is timekeeper. So the person who starts a game, or who starts as a drawer, will be the one who keeps track of the time as the time counts down. Of course, the user doesn't count down the time, but the app does it automatically. It's just that we don't want two devices to be doing both things because there will be a clash and there might be some lag. So this just keeps everything synchronized, minus a bit of internet lag. So we'll set is timekeeper to true. Now, if we're drawing, or if we're the timekeeper actually, we will set up a countdown timer. So in our game view, let's create a countdown timer by doing countdown timer equals timer dot publish every so like one on the main loop in the common loop. So just main thread common loop. So and then auto connect. So in this case, I'm just creating a placeholder countdown timer, just because in SwiftUI, I'm going to actually receive that data, which I will actually do here. So countdown timer, there you go. Now, if we receive this countdown timer, I am going to, let me check my code. Yes, so this is our body. Okay, on receive our countdown timer, we can perform something. So this is a time remaining, and then if the actually we can just do an underscore here. So if match manager, if we're the timekeeper, and also then we can do match manager dot remaining time minus equal 1. So we subtract 1 time from that, and then that'll relay into our already existing top bar with the remaining time, and so we already have an active timer. There's an error. Let's look at the error. The delegate receive string cannot be found. Oh wait, yeah. So for send string, first of all, replace data with message. I just made an error there. And then, encoded. That's what we want. Okay. 36 minutes. This is going to be also a long video. So if we're the timekeeper, let's reset the time by just creating a new one. Nothing too special about that. So we'll just copy this. We'll just paste it in, assign the new countdown timer, and countdown timer is a lat constant. Oh yeah, that's true. Let's make this a variable. Back to game view. Okay, cool. Also in the menu view, let's actually check menu view, and we will. For this to do, we can just do match manager dot start matchmaking. Simple as that. Let me see if there's anything else that we need, but I think it's just that. It very well is just that, yeah. Cool. So that's actually our menu view done. Let's just close this up to make it less cluttered, because we do have a lot of things here. Let's close off the stuff that we don't need. Okay, cool. And I think that's basically what we should have for now. And then now I'm going to actually test this. Let's see if we can actually start the game. So I'll see you once we're running.